Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Halloween edition of the community meeting.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. And now is the time, if you're wearing a costume, to show it off. There very well may be swag in it. Let's see if we can post-mortem send out some swag for best costume. So far I'm going for the Jedi Knight that was on camera earlier.
Let's get that Jedi Knight to speak for a minute. Introduce himself.
Yo, hey folks, what's going on? Eric Capuano with Lima Charlie, proudly representing the Jedi Knights.
Whitney.
Hey, Whitney Champion. I'm from Lima Charlie as well.
Xenia.
I'm Xenia Davidson, a UX designer at OpenSearch project.
Parna.
Hey, Aparna Sundar here, researcher at OpenSearch, and I guess I'm playing a she-devil.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Nathan Boot. I'm a developer advocate for the OpenSearch project. I like to run these community meetings and invite everyone in, and please sit back and enjoy today's community meeting for Halloween. We've got a couple of presentations for you today. Lima Charlie is here. Is it,
Lima Charlie.
Lima Charlie, I'm sorry. Since you're here, we usually have a couple of ground rules that I go over every single time. Please do mute yourself or introduce yourself before speaking. Mute unless you're actively speaking. Cameras are, of course, optional, and questions anytime in chat or audio. I like to clarify that by saying if the presenters have a particular preference to save questions towards the end or just interrupt with a hand raise or just speak up, let us know if you have a preference. Otherwise, we'll find a lazy consensus there. Cameras are optional. If you're disruptive, you will be removed. Screen annotations have been turned off, so no drawing on the screen. Profiles will only show names and not pictures. Only hosts or co-hosts can share their screen, and we will keep additional co-hosts around to remove disruptive people. And if you're here, you typed in a passcode, so that's no surprise, and no renaming yourself to Nate B and then typing in a bunch of nasty stuff. I don't want to see it again. That was scary. Announcements. Oh my gosh, coming up November 5th, importance of measuring trust in organizations and how community presence can help. That's at the Ubuntu Summit in Latvia. Is that correct, Chris?
That's correct.
And Aparna?
Aparna and I are flying out tomorrow and hanging out in Latvia for a little while to give a talk.
Awesome. Is there going to be a virtual presentation there? Can we tune in for any of it?
I believe so. If you want to be up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, please tune in.
Oh, story of my life.
On the other side of the world. So, hey, we'd love to have you there.
Awesome.
They upgraded us to the main stage too. So
I'm jealous, Chris. I've never been a main stage.
It's because of Parna, not because of me. I can promise you that.
Awesome.
It's all Chris.
No way.
We'll figure it out who it is. Okay, November 8th, Haystack on Tour 2023. Open Source Connections and Bonsai in Austin, Texas. Can you tell me more about that? Either Chris or anyone?
Yeah, they're doing a Haystack on Tour. We all know the wonderful search conference Haystack that happens around the globe. They're doing an event called Haystack on Tour, and our friend Joel over at Bonsai is going to help them run it over in Austin. I think I know a few other people that are in Austin here on the call today, so hopefully y'all can make it to that. Should be fun.
Awesome. And then coming up November 11th, yours truly will be traveling to Amsterdam to give a talk at the very first user group in Amsterdam. Zeta Alpha is hosting at Lab 42, a building at the Amsterdam University where Python was created. So they call it the birthplace of Python, Lab 42. And so that'll be fun. I'm not aware of any virtual options for that one. Chris, do you have more details on that?
No, it won't be virtual, just in person for that. But it looks like we've got a good 50 people RSVP'd already. So
nice. So I'll be giving a quick talk about using about the use of OpenSearch as a vector database and kind of how my perception of that has formed as a developer advocate rather than a actual developer, which is kind of like you could call it a cross-class specialization for your D&D nerds out there. Anyways, that will be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to seeing whomever is there. I'll be there, I think, on the 8th, and the event itself is on the 11th. 10th. Okay, it says November 11th right there.
Yep, that was my typo this morning.
But I'll be there for a day or two before. If anyone's there and wants to meet up and talk shop, I'm happy to entertain.
Oh, we had one other I didn't put in. Late breaking, we may have a 2.11.1 release to fix a security piece that came up in 2.11. They're talking about a 2.11.1 release right now. Here is.
Was it? Do we use an infected library or here it is? There's the issue.
There's the release.
OpenSearch build issue 4161.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scan this really quick just for the good of the order. Any other announcements? Anyone would like to speak up and share anything cool or relevant for everyone? Nothing wrong with that. I guess we can move on. Is everyone ready? Today's agenda, we're going to start with Lima Charlie. Why did I call it Zima Charlie? I apologize for that. That's embarrassing. Oh my gosh.
Hey, we know what's on your mind. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. I keep my Zima next to my White Claw. Okay, so OpenSearch integration 3 and feedback from the community. Whitney Champion, Matt, can you pronounce your last name if you Bromley?
Bromley, yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Eric Capuano. Feel free to take over the screen share and have at it when you are ready.
Awesome. I will go ahead and take the screen share over. Let's share a thing here. Good stuff. All right. Well, hey everyone. Matt Bromley here from Lima Charlie. I'm really excited to be joined by Whitney. Whitney say hi. And Eric, who are also on the Lima Charlie team here as well.
Yep. How's it going, folks?
Awesome. So I'm going to keep this. I don't want to running through every single thing our platform does, but we are a security, a SecOps cloud platform. So security infrastructure is what we build and what we do. And we provide services for a bunch of different types of organizations out there: security operations centers, incident response firms, MSSPs, MDRs, MSPs, so on and so forth. Really a wide range of anyone who needs security infrastructure is an area where we've had a lot of success and done really well. But what we wanted to kind of mention and talk about today, outside of the general kind of security side of things, is what we've done from an OpenSearch integration perspective. And this goes a little bit into kind of the underlying philosophy of how Lima Charlie is set up and put together and whatnot. So we're very, very big about kind of security data being very transparent and open, to the point where it's not really security data until you make it that. So, we operate off of telemetry that comes from any source that's out there, very similar to anyone who utilizes any sort of aggregated source or aggregated endpoint. We like to bring all the data into one spot and then let folks decide what do they find value with, what do they want to write detections on top of and whatnot. So we bring telemetry in from anything and everything, from EDR sensors to third-party logs, random arbitrary uploaded files, things that people may find of interest. We are completely unopinionated about it. We offer all telemetry upfront, so we don't do any processing, any data reduction, anything on our side. We make it fully transparent for users to write their own security detections and operate off of. But the other thing that we don't do inside of the platform is we don't really offer reporting functionality or kind of the typical type of dashboards that you'd expect to see from a SOC perspective and stuff like that. One of the reasons that we don't do that is that we found that if you offer those things up, first off, a lot of teams that have the ability to create those or have the already have things in place, they start to shift their processes over towards what you create and what you provide. So you take away the element of them kind of generating and gathering their own value out of the data, which is something that we obviously want to encourage folks to do. So that's number one. Number two, the other thing is there is really no cookie cutter way to wrap up this data in a way that makes sense for everybody. So if I'm, running an MDR for 100 different customers, or if I'm running an enterprise SOC for a, multi-million-dollar business, my needs and everything are very, very different. Maybe there's some base data that I'll want to represent, but the way that I'm going to approach and look at my data is going to be very, very different. So one of the core things that we've got built into Lima Charlie, in addition to bringing data in, is also the ability to send data out once it's in. And this is where, there's a whole bunch of different use cases in here from a data reduction perspective, from an alerting mechanism and things like that. But what it really does is it helps facilitate an easy creation or an easy output to something that folks can then use to create whatever it is that they're looking for. It's also the ability to be multi-tiered if you want to as well. So if I want to send my data out to, 3 different locations or 3 different data stores or an email and OpenSearch and a Slack or something like that, you can do all of that with really easy configurations. Again, our goal is to make data transparently available. It's not to limit and restrict what you can do with that. We had a customer come about, I would say within the past 6 months. We had a customer come about who was like, hey, we use OpenSearch for all of our stuff. We would really kind of want to output into OpenSearch. Now, this is where a little bit of the Lima Charlie engineering comes in, because technically you could send this data to anywhere from anywhere, because we're an API first platform, which means I don't even need the UI to set this up. But as I'm assuming everyone here knows, the more we can help users who are just learning and getting started with different technology, the better it is for us here. So we've got a bunch of different output options, meaning things that I can send out, ranging from very, very verbose, which is basically a mirror of all the events that come in, all the way down to very, very tailored streams of detection and response rules. That being said, one of the things that we came and built, and I moved way too fast through that. One of the things that we built and have set up for certain types of destinations have been these little helpers that are in here. And these helpers are really easy guided ways to integrate with a particular source. We're just going to call this OpenSearch test 1, because there already is an OpenSearch that's out there. And this is where it gets really cool. This is where a lot of our users have a ridiculous amount of control over what they send out and how they send it out. We can do things within our platform. We can do things like, obviously, like rate limiting, different types of category filtering. We can set things into different transforms, so I can manipulate and modify the data at the Lima Charlie side before it gets sent out. I can do inclusion rules, exclusion rules, category filtering, things like that. And where we make it super, super easy, and I'd love to get Eric and Whitney's thoughts on this right in a minute here, is we make it super easy to connect to as well. So all of the kind of logic on setting up a connector is done in the back end. All we want to do is make it frictionless for users to be able to just say, give us the address where it's located, index, username, password, and you're done. Eric, I think you just set this up. I don't know, Eric and Whitney, if you guys wanted to offer any feedback on this setup here and everything, and from an output perspective, what that's like.
Go ahead, Whit.
I was going to say, you mentioned transforms, and that might not be immediately intuitive to people listening that aren't as familiar with Lima Charlie, but if you use OpenSearch or Elastic, you probably know that there's field mappings and typically field renames that you'll want to do whenever you're bringing in data to an OpenSearch instance. And so in this case, transforms basically means that you can rename fields or just format things the way that you need to have them formatted before they come into OpenSearch.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really enjoy about the granularity that we provide in the output options is that, you may have an OpenSearch instance that, and by the way, I have done exactly this specific use case, because OpenSearch is my preferred, platform for analysis. But I love to have the control, the granularity to say, well, I've got, let's just use round numbers here, I got a terabyte a day coming into Lima Charlie. I do not want to mirror all of that data into a big, giant, massive OpenSearch instance if really the main data that I need is a subset, right? I want to look at my process creation events. I want to look at network activity. I want to look at the things that I most commonly call upon in daily SecOps, threat hunting, that kind of stuff. And so I love the granularity of being able to basically surgically slice off only the data that I want. And you can even do interesting things like, for instance, the sample rate option there, right? Is I could simply say, look, I want to send 1 out of every 100 events, right? So I'm just getting a sample size of the data set. So lots of cool things that we can kind of do there to keep that OpenSearch instance sort of manageable and targeted with the data most needed in that kind of area.
Yeah, and
to add to that point, sorry, Matt. I was
no, you're good. Go ahead with.
So as Eric said, oftentimes you're only bringing in a subset of data into OpenSearch, and one of the cool things you can do between Lima Charlie and OpenSearch is using our replay ability. You can essentially go back and get older data that may not have been ingested and then replay that and ship it into OpenSearch as well. So if that wasn't already in there, you can go grab it and have that get indexed in real time whenever you need it.
Yeah. This is like from a security perspective, from a SecOps, from a SOC perspective and IR perspective, these are like really, really super powerful capabilities to have. And this is kind of where I look at this as where the users get like pre-OpenSearch, where the users have a ridiculous amount of power in what they build and configure. And I kind of led the way that I did into this with that whole, like, we don't want to curb creativity, because you never know how someone wants to look at this data. There are a lot of folks who look at, security related data or security telemetry at points in time going forward, and that's it. And then there are people who look at this data and they only live 6 weeks to 6 months in the past, depending on what it is they're looking at or how they're working through it. So being able to just be really flexible in the output. And then like to Whitney's point about like, I'm going to call it prepping that data to get sent in. We have the ability here within our platform to really streamline how that stuff gets sent out. And one of the things that we're trying to break here, one of the industry norms that we're trying to break here, is we're trying to break that idea of just ship everything into some super whatever data store, and you'll figure it out later on down the line, and that kind of stuff, right? One of the issues that we found within most of security is that, folks are shipping, let's just call it 100% of their data to a source, but at the end of the day, they're using like 5% of it and stuff. So let's just, to Eric's point, right? Let's just get that 5% over so we can optimize. I can always add a little more if I need to, but it's super hard to be like, hey, can you bring that bill down because I didn't really use it all? Or you've got someone who's managing a massive data store, but the security team's barely even, touching the surface. And all you're doing then is just monitoring storage and whatnot. So we wanted to help streamline that. I went through and we did set up an OpenSearch detection, and a huge hat tip to Eric and Whitney for getting data sent in there and whatnot, which is where I'm happy to just kind of talk about this setup here. Eric, I know you had some of the stuff that was sent in, but where this becomes really useful is, and I want to show you all like a quick comparison here, not to throw shade at Lima Charlie whatsoever, but our detections window is very, very straightforward, right? Detections, time, random JSON, or not random, but JSON associated with that particular event. And just, you can go and look through this and kind of see what's happening there. It is searchable, but it's not like field intensive searchable. And you don't get to the level of, very, very specific targeted searches that you might want to be able to do. And then furthermore, there's things in here where it's like, I can't do like a quick hit or different counted values and things like that, right? Yeah, they just said it looks like a system D journal, not far off from the inspiration, actually, on the way that it's set up and put together. But what it does is it, gives you kind of a base starting point of something to look for and something to look, to figure out how to put this data together. Now, I do want to offer one other really cool thing about the way that we put this together, and then I'll hop into OpenSearch and show just some of the sample stuff we put together. But another unique thing that we do in Lima Charlie is if there's anything that occurs within the platform, be it an API lookup or some sort of data enrichment or something like that, that itself also becomes an observable event. So this right here, a huge hat tip to the folks over at EchoTrail, who make an amazing set of data that you can enrich against and whatnot. But the act of looking this up, this API request, is itself an event that you can pivot on. So when you're shipping data out to a data store or something like OpenSearch, you have the ability to say, hold on, let me enrich in my detection platform and then send the enriched metadata over, because that's what I'm actually actioning on, right? That's where I'm working through it. So to that effect, I went and just like, I don't want to say I went and created a simple thing. I literally clicked like 3 buttons because OpenSearch is just so easy to work through, as I know everyone here knows and whatnot. But I wanted to take that idea of just raw straight detections and maybe drop a little more context or give me the fields that I'm actually looking for. But if I go a little bit further, and then I want to start to drill into, and I know it's all over the place because I'm like messing around with the dashboard right now and whatnot. But then I wanted to go through and I wanted to take a look at like, all right, what other types of things would I be interested in looking for here? So instead of just lists of detection names, Eric, I think you put this one together, which is like document creation and whatnot. And hang on one second. Let me just make this like less hazardous and a little more focused on, oh, this might be my, this might be the fun side of that. There we go. So like, different process creation events or things that I might be interested in. I might be, wanting to create notes and leave things for SOC analysts and whatnot. I am really fumbling my way through these borders right here. So I'm just going to hold off on doing that. And just leave that off to the side. Whitney, you were probably giving me a hint there, but that's okay. But I wanted to just have a bunch of random different fields up, because what like a tool like OpenSearch does is it allows us to get right to the point of the things that we actually want to look for, the things that security teams actually want to find out, which is, all right, I've got 1,000 different detections or alerts. What's unique? What's interesting? What's rare? What's in a system of importance, or what other types of things that I want to be looking for. And then to be able to just quickly bring that data together, just, makes it so simple. So first off, a thanks to the folks here who, have helped put this amazing tool together, number one. But then number two, the ease of use just lets me really quickly start to drill through this data a lot faster. So, Eric and Whitney, I'll offer any parting thoughts for you guys, but I'll just say that like we built this, y'all saw it. It's a 1-click 3-field integration. Data's in, they can start to visualize, work their way through whatever queries they want. And it's been really easy and a huge win for a lot of our customers. So a big thanks to the team there, but I'll let you guys offer any final parting thoughts too.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of reiterate, the reason that I was so excited about the OpenSearch integration, and as Matt mentioned, right, like it was, us developing this integration was really just formalizing a capability that was always there because the platform is so open. You can output to wherever you want. But now it's just that much easier for a customer to say, oh, but I use OpenSearch. Okay, no problem. Like literally right here in the GUI, just put in the details and data is now flowing. But the reason that I was most excited about it is because, again, to Matt's point, realistically, while there are so many strengths in the way that we manage data efficiently in Lima Charlie, I'll be honest about the downside. It's not going to be an analyst's favorite workflow to write complex queries, to get real-time sort of statistics, to be able to do some really quick, easy filtering, and more advanced kind of Boolean logic if they're just running queries. Now, from a detection rule standpoint, we offer all of that. But if you're just trying to get some quick answers out of the data, I'll be honest, our platform may not be your favorite way of going about it, especially if you're already accustomed to, the power of tools like OpenSearch. This is where you're going to want to do that kind of work. So I'm a huge fan of this integration because I think it really brings the best of both worlds together, right? I don't have to stick a terabyte a day into this instance if I don't need all a terabyte a day, but I can very quickly and very easily get that data in there. And I want to reiterate one thing that Whitney said as well. I love the fact that I can now retroactively decide, hey, look, I've been sending a terabyte a day into Lima Charlie for a year now. Lima Charlie keeps all of that data for a year. We have a 12-month retention. That is a mountain of data, but I can retroactively decide, oh, you know what? We realize we got a system that's maybe been compromised for some number of weeks now because we're Okta. I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke. And we want to retroactively now bring that data into OpenSearch because that's where our analysts are going to get the quickest answers. Too soon, yeah. So I can do that after the fact. I can retroactively decide to go pull all that data out of the cheap, inexpensive, storage that we have at Lima Charlie, pull it into our much more powerful interface of something like OpenSearch, and that is just like the best combination of capabilities. So Obviously, we're big fans of the project. So for the OpenSearch team, thank you so much for the work that you guys do, for making this available to the community, and for working so well with folks like us that are looking to make this thing even that much more accessible and useful.
Absolutely. Awesome. Whit, any final thoughts? And then if not, we'll hand it over to whoever's next.
Nope, I'm good.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you giving us the time. It's great to be here and looking forward to see what else we got on this wonderful Halloween.
I've got a quick one for you.
Yeah.
Do you foresee any use of like natural language or the use of vectorizing any of your data so that people can just kind of ask natural language questions? Is that something that you guys look into? It's one of the features that I'm personally trying to exaggerate, is that people don't really, when you think of open source vector database, people don't really think of OpenSearch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if you guys have any plans to integrate that kind of thing for ease of use, or I guess since you're API first, that would kind of go against your tenants.
No, it would. So this is one of those areas where one of like the core kind of things that we do at Lima Charlie is the answer to everything is almost yes. Right. So it wouldn't be so much, Nate, that we would be doing that. It would be more that our customers would say, hey, I want to build this thing using the data I get into Lima Charlie and whatnot. Because we offer it up completely unopinionated. Now, let's take that question to the next step, which is someone saying, hey, do you guys do this type of thing, or do you offer this type of thing? Our answer is going to become, here's a way to do it in OpenSearch. Here's a way to set that up and everything. So absolutely. And I'll tell you the example that I use a lot when describing Lima Charlie is, right. Imagine when S3 buckets first got debuted. Someone looked at it and said, oh my gosh, globally distributed file storage. I can store one file and access it anywhere in the world. This is amazing. Someone else looked at it and said, Dropbox, done. Right. And the thing is, when you have that infrastructure there, you're able to be like, what is it I want to build on top of this? And can I just get the data to a place where I then can build that on top of it? So those capabilities aren't something that we'd integrate at the Lima Charlie level. But what we do is we'd instead say, hey, send off this, that, and that, and then OpenSearch's capabilities take over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Nathan, to put it a slightly different way, Lima Charlie primarily exists to provide the primitives of all of these functions. Without going too deep into specific use cases or specific, processes, we're saying, look, we are providing this to you in such an open and just available way that you can, infinitely sort of iterate of, whatever specific use case that you have. Like, we've exposed all the functionality to you, the raw telemetry, to kind of work with it however you see fit. And so we try not to embark upon too many, of the niche journeys, because now we're starting to take the role of what we hope our users will bring to the table.
So it sounds very similar to OpenSearch's kind of tenant of being a toolkit, just kind of something for builders to embrace. And so it sounds like that's kind of the same. Someone's going to look at your product and go, security system, natural language processing, as to carry on the example of someone seeing S3 when it first comes out and goes, I'm going to build Dropbox.
Nailed it. I would say, yeah, that's our primary audience. Is we work a lot with product builders and service providers. We do have some kind of direct enterprise SOC customers as well, but generally it's going to be the folks that aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and get in there and build and innovate, because the only limitation to someone adopting Lima Charlie is their imagination of, what can I do with this? And the exciting part is anything, which is very much true about OpenSearch, right? So yeah, that's why it's, again, another really awesome partnership that we're forming here.
Awesome. Was there anything particularly difficult about OpenSearch's place in your system here that you had to overcome, or do you have any feedback about configuring OpenSearch, or call it an airing of the grievances if you want, but was there some piece of it that you found difficult to interact with?
Personally, no. No,
Really?
not at all. I didn't.
No.
Yeah, no, it's super easy for Matt and I.
Yeah.
That's because Whitney does everything.
Very funny. I was just gonna say though, you said you mentioned configurations, and I just want to point out that this output does require it to be public. So obviously, having all of the security configurations in place and up to snuff is pretty important.
Gotcha.
That said, there's other ways to get to work around that and do it different ways to still get your data into OpenSearch. But yeah, as long as all of that is hardened the way it's supposed to, and you guys have amazing docs, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. No, I for that, Nathan, for that one customer who kind of was the genesis of setting this up, they admittedly were like, their biggest issue was having their instance being public facing, but that's not that's no one else, that's no one on this call's issue, right? That was just something that they had to go through and set up. But once it was set up, it was pretty easy and straightforward. I mean, I gotta say, of all the different outputs that we've worked with and stuff like that, all the different parameters I got to provide to push things into certain storage locations and whatnot, y'all's is really straightforward, like really easy. So no complaints there whatsoever. Again, assuming, right, it's up, it's available, it's running, it can ingest, blah, 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 all that stuff is set up correctly. It's really easy. The moment we got it set up though, I mean, it worked out really great. So it worked well.
Awesome.
I will share one quick thing that, it was a conversation I had with Whitney just the other day where I was like, Whit, but honestly, where do I need to start to worry about tipping over this OpenSearch instance? If I really open the floodgates here, and like, where's the tipping point? And she looks at me, she's like, you're not going to hit it. Like, you're going to be fine. Open the floodgates. I was like, okay, that's what's up. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. Thank you. We're always looking for feedback in that regard. So that's actually a success story as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And I can say too that customer is like now out there building amazing things and providing some pretty critical services to some folks as well. So it's been great. It's worked out really well.
Yeah. It's a lesson. The difference between S3 and Dropbox is just a little bit of arbitrary creativity.
Pretty much. That's right. Imagination.
I'll spare you my attempt to sing the song.
But no, thank you all very much for having us. It's been great being here.
Any other questions for our presenters here? I think we should probably move on to our next one here pretty soon. Anything else for the good of the order, as I like to say? Awesome. Well, I think Aparna and Zania and Jimish, you're all up next. Please make yourselves at home.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Thanks for that. Hopefully you're seeing our screen here. Great, thank you. Zinnia is here. Zinnia is our wonderful UX designer who is assigned to security analytics. Zinnia, is Jimish here as well? Has he joined us today? You see him?
Yes, I believe so. I've seen
okay, Jimish,
yeah, I admitted him myself.
All right,
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, Jimish is our PM. And he will help. So Zinnia has all the answers for you when it comes to the design of, of the security analytics experience that we are working through. And then Jimesh has all the answers in terms of features, functionalities, capabilities, things like that. I'm going to just kick this off myself. I'm the researcher on OpenSearch. Do a lot of research on our users and also with folks that actually incorporate OpenSearch for their end users. So we talk to users a lot. So what we're doing, and I also help the designers and the PMs when we are doing exploratory work, which is what we are doing currently, in terms of understanding user needs and also best ways in which we can actually design experiences and things like that. So what I'm going to do today, because they gave us a generous portion of time, is actually share a little bit of our process of the madness behind the method behind the madness, or the madness behind the method, whichever way you take it. And then Zinnia is we're actually going to give you some heads up on the process that we're in as we're designing some of these features and functionalities for our users. And then Jamesh will also give an update on that. And then we would also like to request that if you are able to give us feedback, if you want to talk to us in detail about your security analytics use case, things like that, we're happy to talk to you as well. Reach out to Zinnia or me. And we are right now in the thick of research right now. And essentially what we're doing is we are creating our personas. If you are not familiar with what we have done so far, there is a blog that we can share with you. I actually can't see my screen right now, but as soon as I finish my session of this, I'm happy to, okay, I somehow was able to get to that. All right, cool. So everything that we're talking about today is on that blog that I just shared on the chat as well. And essentially what we've done so far is actually establish a framework of how we want to kind of set out role-based personas. So there's ways in which we can do this. We can either go with segmentation-based personas, which are based on market segments. Since we did fork, some of our efforts has been to actually backtracking and getting the information on the different segments that could potentially be influenced by OpenSearch, or different segments that actually use OpenSearch in different ways. Right now, we're looking at it very simply in terms of search, log analytics, and then also security analytics. And so with that, we've got that really simple because we have like a very ubiquitous way in which OpenSearch is used. Our customers are highly versatile, very varied. And so they use OpenSearch as a solution in a multitude of ways. So right now we're just going with these capabilities, essentially everything that can be based on search, and then either kind of go into log analytics or security analytics. And so what we're doing on the product front is actually looking at things in terms of roles. So if you're looking at search, I'm actually going to show you the example of search, because right now we're constructing that for security analytics as well. And we are kind of in our research talking to our users in terms of their goals. And what this does is this actually sets up the framework for what we call as jobs to be done. Essentially, in newer features and functionalities that are being incorporated, we want to understand the complete user's motivations with different kinds of setup. Some of it may have a UX. Most of it, what we are observing is most of our customers are in the API setting this up. So there's opportunities there to give that customer experience and to enable them to accomplish their particular goal. So there's just a little bit about jobs to be done. The way we're doing our research is right now we're doing a lot of exploratory for security analytics. For search, we did a lot of exploratory. Then we did actual testing with the prototype, which is the stage that Zinnia is in right now. And then also kind of go into that iterative improvement, putting it up on GitHub, getting kind of user input in terms of how we can refine the experience that we give our customers. This is an example of a journey map here by user. And this is a template. And if you go into that blog there should be a link to the Figma templates that we're offering. This is all open source. So if you are creating, and we find this with our partners who are creating experiences for their end users, this is kind of a useful way to think about dependencies. And so this is just a template there. I will actually quickly go through how to use the template, things like that. And how that helps us is when you go to each stage, it gives us a good sense of the nature of experience that the customer would like to engage in. And that guides us through the actual flows that we want to create, and also disambiguates some of the flows that can conflict with each other. So if we have two different ways to get to a particular problem, trying to kind of hash it out, and within our UX team, see if there is a seamless interaction, clarify the interactions that the customer wants to do, depending on the persona or the role, because oftentimes that makes a big difference in terms of how they will navigate through OpenSearch. It also helps us identify some pain points, which I'm actually going to share with you, some initial kind of findings, which we will write a blog at the end of this research as well to share with you what we're finding. And then essentially what happens after this is Zinnia then takes this kind of pattern of process that the user wants to accomplish, and then starts creating user goals and tasks, ensures that there is seamless entry points, a navigation path, and then also building up that richness and functionality depending on what the user wants to do and depending also on the user's capabilities. Like our earlier presentation, we heard, the delight with OpenSearch, which is great. And the fact that you're able to figure out things pretty seamlessly. Not all users tell us that. Some of them do. So we're delighted when we hear that. But when we do hear pain points, those are opportunities for us to innovate and make that process simpler as well. So some of the basis of creating user flows, again, I mentioned to you, we do our qualitative, we do our exploratory, and then we talk to our stakeholders, and we are doing iterative refinement. This is an example of our search persona framework, which is a little bit more developed than what we're thinking of in terms of security analytics framework. Although we have the search relevance engineer as our core user, we do see that there are dependencies, for example, with individuals who are product managers who provide requirements. They're not quite as technical, but at the same time, they do need to understand kind of what needs, they're the ones who are providing the requirements. And other users like end users in e-commerce use cases, and also raters who might be rating search relevance and things like that. So this kind of sets up our framework on the different flows that we want to think through, the different flows that we want to curate. This is our search use case. And here what I was trying to indicate, like as an example, we go deeper into each user, and then we also go into the dependencies. So if you look at the second row here, you can actually see on this particular screen, and I know, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but on the second row here, you can see the dependencies and when OpenSearch actually starts offering these interactive experiences between the users when they need to collaborate, when OpenSearch can actually provide a seamless interface. Just want to do a shout out to Carlos, who's the one who's provided all the templates for you that is available on the blog. And here's a quick demo of how you can actually use the Figma templates here. As you can see, the library has a lot of different components. It's a little small, but you can actually look at the video on the blog as well, with the voiceover as well. But essentially here you have the different components. If you are designing, a lot of our customers actually do not have UX designers. And so if you are designing for a particular use case for a particular user, you can actually download this template, or you can use the template on Figma to kind of like take it into your workspace and then actually use it to build out your particular workflow model here as well. And here you can see how you can actually build it out and thereby, within your team as well, kind of like use that as a resource as you're setting out to set up user flows and things like that, right? And then, so like I mentioned earlier, the areas we're looking at right now, next year we'll be going into a little bit more into our segmentation research, which is going to come in from actual customers, like customers actually reporting their particular, industry and use cases, things like that. But here we're setting up this foundation of the search log analytics, and right now we're in security analytics. We have been talking to customers, and again, we would love to talk to you to understand your use case and your pain points. Some of our initial themes that we are finding customers would like us to innovate on are in the area of mapping, threat intelligence. Some customers don't find creating the index patterns very intuitive. This is a recurring theme we've seen in our previous dashboarding versions as well. So this is kind of a common theme of getting data in and then configuring rule. Any kind of like users would like to have standard findings and templates, integrate with triage tools, and also easier enrichment process is what we're hearing from our users. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Zinnia, who has been working with some of the capabilities of OpenSearch, innovating on this. And again, shout out for reaching out if you would like to provide feedback to what we're doing, some of the designs, mocks, things like that.
Thank you, Aparna. I'm Zinnia. I'm a UX witch at OpenSearch project. And let me show you some of the ongoing work based on the usability study that we also conducted with the community. If you remember an August community meeting, we procured for usability study, an unmoderated one. So there is a recording for that. And what was the study about? So here's our presentation on one of the previous meetings. The usability study goal was to evaluate existing flows and existing experience, not for API users, but through UI. And you can see more information about that study. I don't want to stop on that. There is a recording on our YouTube channel, so you are free to check it out. So we are working through those findings from the usability study. We found some areas that really requires improvement, and this is an ongoing process. So one of the central pieces in first-time user experience is creating a detector. So I can show it really quickly, our 2.11 version of that. So we try to remove as much friction as possible. So you can see the overview page. We are improving many parts all the time, so like getting started guidance. And when user starts creating detector, we try to make it less overwhelming by reorganizing the flow. I will give you an example. Okay, I will create my detector for Windows logs and Windows data source. So there's another one, which is log selector. I will show you in a Vim. So you can see we reorganized the mapping. This is a constant pain point, which we're working toward improving all the time. So we try to make it more obvious and less overwhelming here, as well as some other parts. And another thing is simplifying setting up alerts. Now it's all set to default, so user can just skip and get notified on every alert that is there, every event. So you can create detector. We even removed one of the steps in the flow, so it's much easier to start with security analytics, especially for unexperienced user. Another thing that I want to highlight is log type categories. I published an RFC a while ago about how we can organize log types. They're getting larger as a function because we now allow custom log types. So we propose some categories. Please feel free to add feedback on the RFC. So right now in 2.11, we have log types organized into categories that seem to be logical, like access management, applications, cloud services, etc. So it's easier, let's say, to filter out correlations. It's easier to create a detector. I can show you an example in the living instance. Let's say we have some correlations. You can see log types based on categories. And here's an update. First of all, the categories are searchable. Maybe it's become a UI component, so ease of use all the way. The other new thing is you can select the whole group, which is also a component that could be reused in the product. You can select all this, deselect all. So here's an update on filtering experiences in the product. So please feel free to leave feedback and participate in our studies. I think that's it from my side. Happy to answer any questions.
Jim, as you're on the call, do you have anything to offer here in terms of
Yeah, mainly joined the call because I wanted to just hear, any community from the feedback, any interesting use cases, or anything they would like to see that we can build with security analytics. So mainly here just for good discussion, or if you have any questions, so it's kind of free form. So really, this is for you guys. So.
Well, I wanted to express my gratitude for having researchers on the team, because it's one thing to collect passive feedback. Hey, how are you using OpenSearch? But to have those distilled into clear use cases that people can follow and collect actual data on repeatable steps, that's the difference between screwing around and science. And so I appreciate your presence on the team to help us distill some of this into usable, actionable things.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate the comments.
Yeah.
It's been a delight to work with the usability study things like that. So our designers are also getting up to speed with processes. So really excited about that.
Looks like you do have a question in chat. So Andre Pham is asking, just wondering if these can be implemented in the future version for security analytics. One, how to customize the alert message when using security analytics rules for triggering an alert. And then number two, how to add other log source types such as VPC flow logs for security analytics rules. And then number three, how to ingest threat intelligence indicators from MISP, OpenCTI, Maltiverse, etc., to create rules.
Oh, that's a very good question. Thank you so much. I can quickly show some of the things, and I understand there's a room for improvement here, but some of those things could be done. Okay, here is an example of setting an alert, if you can see my screen. I am creating an alert from finding, but the same pattern is available in creating detector or editing detector. So when you create alert, there is here notification message customization. It works for the whole trigger. There might be further customization as well, but this is what we already have off the bat. And for the log types, you can explore, for starters, our log types feature that has just been created. So when you create a log type, sorry for moving my screen around. So you can create a VPC flow log type, assign it a category of your choice, and then start from there. Maybe Jamish can also comment on that. There was another one. Let me see. Threat intelligence, Jamish.
Yeah, let me take the threat intel one. So yeah, this is actually an important area that, we're getting a lot of feedback on, understandably, we want to definitely bring threat intel into this. So we are in kind of the early stages of trying to create that framework where, you can add open source feeds or you can add licensed feeds. We want to start off with creating that framework by providing an out of the box feed. So we are already working on integrating like the Alien Vault IP reputation feed into OpenSearch. So in the version that's coming up next, you will see that we'll integrate the threat intelligence, like kind of a checkbox. When you're creating your detectors, you can say like, yeah, you want to run threat intelligence on it. But in future versions, we want to enable users to then decide which thread feeds they want to bring or they want to add or enable. So that work is already in progress. If there's anybody who's Andre or anybody else who's interested in helping us like iterate over this as we build it out, I'd love to engage with you guys as well. But that's already in the works, so that's great.
All right, thank you. Hey, this is Andre. Just going back to the alert message customization, right? My thinking is if you guys can provide us a way to edit some kind of the filtering that we are filtering through the rules. For example, saying like instead of just give us a default format, right? Give us the option to edit that messages because most of the time we send the messages out via email or to some other means. So instead of going back to OpenSearch to looking for what happened, we would love to have the ability to basically refine the message meaningful way for us, right? For example, of certain uh, custom tag that we had based on the monitor that only for our organization to understand that, but we have no way of edit or add those custom tag inside the message itself. so someone kind of understand what is that alert meant, instead of just provide a generic message from the trigger itself. And
I
then
guess, yeah. Just quick clarification there. When you're saying when someone like who would that mesh? So I understand customizing the message. Would
right,
that customization of message help you, or will it help the team that's going to get it? Like, is it going to be someone
it's help
else?
the team. Yep. Someone
Got it.
else. I mean, I know when I create the trigger and rules, right? I know
Yeah.
what it's for,
Right.
but this is for the customer, right?
Mhm.
For example, if we have multiple customer and then we want to, customize that format for that,
Mhm.
so it's better for us to have that ability. As far as for the threat intelligence, yes, I'm very open. I know there's a alien vault already integrated. However, there's other threat intelligence out there that we would love OpenSearch able to integrate, because there's others mean to get there, and especially just FYI, right? So some of the integration, think about there's a environments where we have to air gap the information, right? We don't have the internet access, and we need somehow to basically create the poll method to have it localized on the OpenSearch itself, and then move it up to different environments and so on.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, I think that's
thank you.
helpful.
Thank you, Andrea.
I think, Andre, just to one more clarification question there. I think what you're also saying is, I know someone shared the link to the mustache templates, but what you're asking is a little bit beyond that, is, the ability to just add some fields from the data that triggered the alert into the alert itself, right?
That plus any kind of customization, right? Let's say I want to have some kind of tag related to that, right? So number one, like you hit it on that point, the the message field when you do a filtering, right, for trigger, from the search itself, right? There's like tons of them in there, whereas we don't have that capability similar to the monitoring or alert right now provided, right? That's number one. But also give us the ability to customize the message itself.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes, and we hear you on the documentation thing. We are working as a team. That's a recurring theme throughout as well. So this year, I think we've been ramping up our efforts on documentation as well. So good call out there.
So I wouldn't be doing my job if I did not interject and say documentation is one of the many things on the spectrum of things that people can do to contribute to open source projects. So if you have some particular strong feeling about the documentation, or if you have some information that might benefit everyone, file an issue, file a pull request. This is how we build a community, and it's also how our researchers here gather information on how you're using it. Is there anyone around who can answer Alejandro's question about the anomaly detector functionality that we've added to Data Prepper here? I'm afraid that I am unfamiliar. Do we have an engineer
Yeah,
here?
yeah. So I don't have like the answer on like how specifically it works, but I did just respond to the chat that let me follow up with the internal team who worked on that, to just bring it to their attention, and then like we can figure out that from there, if you want to have a session on this in one of the following community meetings. I'll follow up, Alejandro.
Awesome. So we're about 4 minutes after the hour. Are there any further questions for our most recent presenters?
And again, we'd
Okay.
love to hear your use cases and dive in deep, because the community meetings are great. It's like we think of it as a sampler, because in our studies, we actually talk for a while with our customers, almost 45 minutes to an hour, and get a good idea of your particular use case, because we're really trying to get those common themes that customers go through and are trying to solve for their end users. So if you have the time, please reach out. We'd love to talk to you. And get a good understanding of your use case and other enhanced capabilities. Like this this, and the data prepper is a good kind of like example. It's come up in some of our interviews as well, and so it kind of highlights that importance of having that integration in that experience as well. So insights like that are kind of what we're looking at when we talk to you about your use cases and things like that. So thank you, marketing team. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Chris, for having us and having us present. And shout out to the community to help us out as we're figuring out a more comprehensive experience than just individual feature adds and improvements. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think if there's nothing else for the good of the order, I wanted to, Chris, you popped on camera. Did you have anything to share? Any advice, announcements, anything? Cool.
Thank you to all the presenters put up today.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. Lima Charlie, that was a interesting presentation, as well as Parna and team. Before I close today, I wanted to leave you with a story that happened to me recently. I hung out with a snowman and a vampire at the same time. Dude, it was a huge pain in the neck, and it gave me frostbite.
And he's off, folks.
Happy Halloween to everyone. Don't eat too much candy. Don't forget your insulin. Don't eat opened candy containers, and make sure to check out your kids' candy before you let them gorge themselves.
Be safe and have fun.
Yeah, that's what I probably should have said.